Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be talking about the crazy Moistcritikal situation. I'm sure pretty much everybody watching this video has come across Moistcritikal at one point or another in your journey on YouTube. But one thing that is very rare, despite the countless topics he's talked about, is situations where people are trying to cancel him. On my own channel, I think there's been maybe one situation where people were trying to do that, and it was like by proxy in a situation he really wasn't involved in. But anyways, today there is a very recent push to cancel Moistcritikal, and it comes from a video he made about 3 weeks ago that personally flew under my radar. I didn't even know he made the video on the subject, and I saw this post yesterday from Kazahana pointing out that people on TikTok were trying to cancel Moistcritikal for his comments about Charlie Kirk. Now, this is the video in particular. As you can see, he released a video about 3 weeks ago, shortly after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that was fueled by political violence. And he made a very bold statement in the video that political violence is always wrong. Despite even differences you have with their opinions, that does not justify it. Now, if you've been watching Moistcritikal, I'm sure you probably weren't too surprised by that, but there was a noticeable portion of his audience that was very angry about this. You can see the like to dislike ratio, and this is not some iDubbbz video where he's, tanking a 50-50 ratio, but most of Moistcritikal's videos have like a 99% like to dislike ratio. So having this sort of a proportion, about a 10% dislike ratio, that's pretty significant. And I say this not in a mocking fashion, but his audience is kind of known for being normies. And you see this reaction from a notable portion of his audience who are very upset about his message. And that, I think, is pretty alarming. So let's listen to what he said in this video and what will be shown in the TikTok where we see the most unhinged reactions.
But this definitely does seem to be a politically motivated assassination, which, if you ask me, is a horrible thing. And my heart breaks for the family that is now without a father. I think it is bad. I know, classic Charles with a grass is green take. So let me be crystal clear here. I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk, everything that happened here is horrible. I think it is horrific, awful. I think it is terrible. And I'm aware that some people have been celebrating this. I find that to be disgusting. Of course, after all this happened, I did see a bunch of the clips that people were tossing around from like his talks or from debates, and it's things I don't agree with for sure. But even still, what happened here is bad. Even though I didn't agree with him from all of the things I have seen, it still doesn't change the way I feel about this being a horrifying, terrible thing that happened to him. Political violence or violence of any kind like this, I think, is just unacceptable, and it's extremely scary.
So yeah, pretty simple stuff. He said, despite even not agreeing with things that Charlie Kirk has said, I condemn political violence. It's horrible, and if you disagree with that point, you are simply wrong. And that made people very angry. Now, most of the top comments are positive on YouTube, but if you're refreshed by new, it's very unhinged. Okay, people are still seething about it every couple of minutes on this video, despite the fact it's been out for weeks. But this is the TikTok that was mentioned earlier in the video, and this is someone who shared that message 3 weeks ago, and the comments on this are insane. And it shows you the kind of radicalization going on places like TikTok. So one of the top comments right here begins by saying, conservatives, kids being killed today with no regard. Charlie Kirk being killed today, and all of a sudden now they've awakened. And of course, you can see someone saying, not a conservative, but do you spend every waking minute feeling sorry for all the kids who you don't know who have passed away? And the person who made the original post said, yes. So this person is trying to convince you that you are bad if you don't spend every waking minute of your existence mourning over the deaths of others. Like, this is the kind of Stretch Armstrong level reach that they're trying to make. They're basically saying you're not allowed to mourn an individual's death if you're not mourning other people's deaths every waking minute of your life. And that's not an exaggeration. They said every waking minute of your life. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Here's one with a lot of support saying, explaining to people that murder is wrong in the Big 25. We are doomed as a society. Now, I noticed that this one, for example, has 8,000 likes. I saw this TikTok yesterday, and I think the new traffic on it has boosted a lot of the positive comments, because a lot of these had a fraction of the likes that they do now. But we have another one saying Moistcritikal greater than vanilla. I think that was another content creator who had a different take on the Charlie Kirk assassination. This person saying killing someone for a different opinion is peak fascism. 100% right. Do you understand how many people have called me and others who have condemned political violence over the past couple of weeks fascists for doing so? Ending someone because they have a different political opinion than you is the literal definition of fascism. That is a core component. So the fact that people condemning it are being given this label shows we're living in an upside down society right now where these people are just so far gone. But of course, this one says also, I know his fans are so mad he's showing compassion. As we pointed out, there was a significant amount that were mad. But down here we have a great dichotomy. This person says, W take from the legend. The next comment says, oh wow, L take from Charlie. Yeah, Charlie with the crazy takes. When I say Charlie, let's not get confused. Charlie as in Moistcritikal, not, separate that from Charlie Kirk. We're just going to refer to Charlie from YouTube as Moistcritikal for the rest of this video. Let's try to keep it from getting confusing. But here's another one saying, I'm not celebrating, but I'm definitely not mourning, with 13,000 likes. And this is such a weird take that I keep seeing. Nobody is asking you to mourn his passing, his murder. Nobody's asking you to mourn it. You don't have to feel bad or anything like that. You can feel completely indifferent. But people are saying don't celebrate. And more importantly, don't glorify acts of political violence, and don't ask for more. As we've seen, you can check out any video pretty much from the last 3 weeks or so on my channel. There are infinite people, whether it's politicians, people in trusted positions of society like doctors and teachers, and also content creators and just regular social media users who are not just celebrating, they're encouraging more political violence. The fact that people are not understanding what the real concern here is well, concerning. But let's read this next one. Oh, it's a doozy. As a white man, you have zero opinion or stance on this. It's okay to mourn him, but telling people of color, LGBTQ/women, that their actions are disgusting and wrong when it's their oppressor, not yours, is extremely weird. I'll let you see here. That has 6,300 likes. So this guy's saying if you're a white man, you cannot talk about or criticize people celebrating the murder of another white man. So what can you even talk about these days? It's very strange. And are you going to also say, they say women, can Erica Kirk, his now widow, can she have an opinion on this? Or is that just, an exception that you'll rule out? These people are insane. They live among you. Many of them can actually vote. That's terrifying. Here's the next one saying, I will never have sympathy nor empathy for a fascist. See, and this is the problem right here. They call everyone who disagrees with them a fascist, and it is a dog whistle. And I know that term has been used very flippantly over the years, but this is a very coded thing where they're trying to say to crazies out there, this guy is a fascist, he is an existential threat to you, do something about it. And they hope someone out there crazy enough will do something about that. That's why they label people they don't like as fascists. And I want to show you how crazy this sort of rhetoric gets. Just today, there's a big scandal going on in the Virginia Attorney General election, which is a very important position for that state, where the Democrat candidate Jay Jones has been busted with personal messages where he was fantasizing about the Republican House Speaker, Todd Gilbert, his political opponent, where he fantasized about him being shot and that he would piss on the graves of Republicans, and even fantasized about the offing of him and his wife's children. Here's the text messages. If these guys die before me, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves. Send them out awash in something. And then they say J. Jones, referring to this person who's running for the position. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both every single time. And the person receiving this says, Jay, please stop, showing that they're very uncomfortable by this conversation. And he says, LOL, okay, but he can't help himself. And the other person says, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death upon them. And then he continues on saying, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. And then the person says, you were talking about and hoping that Jennifer Gilbert's children would be ended. And then he says, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. So this person believes that his political opponent's children should be offed, because then they might change their mind on probably some stupid policy that's not even that important. Insane. And then they continue on saying, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. That is what's going on in the state of Virginia in a very important election for what they the concerns and the interests of their citizens over there. So when you're constantly labeling people as these things, these are the type of fantasies from unhinged people that are connected. And we live in a time where that's accepted. Like, normally what we just saw is a career ender. You never recover from that. But right now with this climate, it's like, I don't know. Will something actually happen? Will he be knocked out of the race? Will his people alongside him say, hey, you need to step down? I don't have any confidence in that whatsoever. But anyways, let's continue on. This person says, I don't give a F what Moistcritikal has to say for real, despite taking the time to leave a comment about it. This person said, but not a word of sympathy for the thousands of people who died from gun violence this year alone. Yeah, this is one of those things again where they say if you don't openly mourn every single death that's ever happened everywhere going on in the world, then you can't have any sympathy for someone who was murdered like this. It's such a ridiculous comparison. But this person said, I genuinely think celebrating anyone's death is inhumane. I don't agree with him, and I absolutely hated him as a person. I will never wish death upon him. Moistcritikal always has the most centrist opinion. Why does he talk about news that he barely researched? This is one of those things where, like, you don't even have to be fully aware of everything the person's ever said. You can literally just look at it for what it is, a brutal public execution, and be like, yeah, over political opinions, that's not acceptable. Like, it's really not that hard to understand. They think this is some sort of a gotcha. Okay, scrolling down a bit, we begin with some positive ones. We go right back to the brain rot. So this person says, common Charlie W. Common W from Moist. Why is it so controversial to say it's wrong to kill people over their political beliefs? They murdered one of the last people that was willing to talk to them. And then you have this. I'm sad I didn't know Moistcritikal was MAGA, which means he voted for Donald Trump. We don't know if that happened. I don't think it's likely, like listening to his videos over the years, but I could be wrong. But what they're trying to make a connection over here is really crazy. Like one of the weirdest cell phones. Like they're saying if you condemn political violence, that means you must have voted for Donald Trump. They think that's an own. I don't think they realize how insane they sound, but again, this is TikTok. It's full of brain rot, and it's just the way it is. But this one's interesting. Moistcritikal is really showing his privilege with this one. It must be nice being straight, cis, and whites, never having to be singled out by the hateful rhetoric Charlie spewed. Listening to someone say to you that you shouldn't exist, that you shouldn't have rights, and then the words he used were more violent and harmful than the way he died. This person is unironically saying words are more harmful than a bullet through the neck. understand how insane these people are. And of course, they can't even list off the horrible things, and they don't cite anything referring to what Charlie spewed. But then again, the amount of misinformation out there regarding what Charlie has actually said is insane. It'll make you lose faith in humanity, that's for absolute sure. How people will make a caricature out of you in your passing and say, you represent a side I don't like, so I'm going to slander you. I'm going to accept any wild theory about you just so I can justify my bloodlust. That's what they're doing. It's absolutely crazy. Then Charlie Kirk said stuff I don't agree with. Yeah. But even then, he didn't deserve to be assassinated in front of his family. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And honestly, like, I could go on, but we'll just read a few more, okay? I fundamentally disagree. Care to explain why you fundamentally disagree with an opinion that states political violence is wrong? Please, enlighten us, common TikTok user. Whether it's kids in Gaza, victims of school shootings, or Kirk, we should never celebrate the loss of human life, as its value scales way beyond anything else in our world. It's that simple. It's really that simple. This person down here is saying, L, actually, wow. This person's saying, I kind of agree that celebrating is not nice, but also we have to understand that if you spread hate, you will get hate. I feel nothing but your actions have consequences. So having healthy debates with people, exercising your free speech, comes with a consequence of being assassinated. That's like an even playing field, an even sort of cost benefit, or like a consequence of exercising your free speech. That's insane. Absolutely unhinged. And there's other comments where they keep talking about, like here, I like how he spoke out about this, but not the thousands of children dying in Palestine. So that's another thing that Charlie talked about in his video, where people are demanding content creators speak about an issue. And if they don't speak about a particular issue, that means they have the negative view of whatever it is, or they represent the bad guys in that situation. And it's an insane thing to expect from someone like Moistcritikal.
But I also want to mention something that a lot of people kept saying, I'm sure you've seen it in the comment section or on streams or elsewhere, about how I'm dodging this topic and refusing to speak on it. And people even go as far as to say that I am endorsing political violence by not making a video on it, which I find to just be unhinged. I find that to be so fucking twisted. Especially considering it's not like I've been shy on this subject. Since it happened, I have covered it extensively during streams. I've been mainly gaming, because I've been in such a gaming arc in my life right now, but I have still talked about it a lot. And I said from day one, I planned on making a video once the shooter was caught, because I was very confident the shooter would be apprehended pretty quickly. Like, they had a substantial amount of footage showing him on the roof, jumping off the roof, even wandering through the neighborhoods. They even had pretty clear photos that they released to the public that showed a lot of this guy's face. So I was pretty certain that they were going to either catch him pretty quickly, track him down, and get them themselves, or, what ended up happening, someone would recognize him and turn him in. So I wanted to wait for that to happen so that way I can make a video covering the entire situation here, because I find it to be such a big deal. But since I was mainly talking about it on streams instead of in a video, which, by the way, if I did do like a video when it happened, a follow-up video, and then this video, people would accuse me of milking a tragedy. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But because I was talking about it on streams, people accused me of trying to hide it there. Basically saying that doesn't count, it only matters if you make a video on it.
But yeah, I think I've had enough of this. As you can see, you really understand how insane all of this is. And like I said, with the new attention on this particular TikTok, a lot of the positive comments have been boosted. But even despite that, the unhinged ones celebrating the worst of human beings, are still getting the majority of the traction. And it's really insane to see. And again, represents a radicalization of many different social media platforms, TikTok definitely included. Now, I'm going to end this video on a happy note. I talked about my official desk mat, a collaboration with my wife, Darling Straub, who also has a VTuber model. And because the sales did so well, we sold so many of these mouse pads over the past couple of weeks. The original date where this was going to be cut off was October 3rd, and now it's been extended through October 17th. And as pointed out here, no restock. So once this date arrives, October 17th, that's it. It's done. And you definitely want to capitalize because these are honestly gorgeous. I mean, look at this. This is the first one. It's the stained glass version. I personally really love this one. One of my favorite pieces of art, I got to be honest with you. And then this one as well, which, of course, this festival theme is always popular in anime. So if you enjoy that, that's another option for you. But I will put a link to this in the pinned comment and the description for you guys to check out. I appreciate all the support. As always, insane from you guys. So we're all getting rewarded with an extension on the closing date of this campaign. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.